And it looks like you are live. Welcome to this webinar. Today we're going to have Bill Bellew here in a couple of minutes to present on turning your hobby into a full-time income stream. So we'll be talking about that. Again, welcome to the webinar. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you here. Just a little bit about me, and then I'll hand you off to Bill. My name is Sunil Bhaskaran. I work with Bill, and we have a program called the VIP, a very influential program, a person academy. It's a one-year program. The last program we just started in September. We filled it out so fast we had to close it out, and we're taking new applicants for next year, and we look forward to serving you that way. It's a great program.
For January.
For January, yeah. Myself, I have about 24 years of experience. I've been working since 1991 with thousands of entrepreneurs since then, mentoring them to success in the fields of marketing. Any aspect of business you could come up with, I could probably answer in the domain of small business. And I've been endorsed personally by the Professional Convention Management Association, which is probably the creme de la creme when it comes to speaking for business, and in Cisco as well, and other companies that I've worked with over the years. But my passion is really working with entrepreneurs like you and bloggers like you, people who are independent, independent spirit. Written 2 books, one book called More Money, More Time, Less Stress. And with Bill, we run a meetup that by now has about 16,000 people, if not more.
16,184.
16,184, growing as we speak, literally. We have a large networking Rolodex we'd like to share with our clients once they get their branding and their positioning up to par. And without much ado, let's hand it off to Bill. Bill, why don't you take it away? And I think you can also control the screen at this point. Let me know if you can.
So you hit the record button?
Yeah, I already hit the record button way back.
Oh, good enough. That's make sure we don't want to forget that.
Yep.
So I don't have screen share yet. You haven't passed it host to me yet.
Okay, let me do that. Make host.
So while he's doing that, you can read a little bit about me here. I taught university in Japan for almost 20 years. I've been back here for about 15 years. I started teaching university again, professor of social media marketing. I do that while you can go ahead and switch this to me. I'm an adjunct professor, but I started off as a professional blogger and kind of grew up into a content marketer.
Yeah. You should be able to do it now, Bill. You should be able to share your screen. So you can do that.
Okay, there it should be flipping over here. You can see a bunch of peaks and valleys going up here. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I've taken the liberty of going ahead into my Google Analytics because I want to show you some things live in as much as I can. So I'm in a bit of a storytelling mood here. So this started, you can see back here in August 2013. So it's a little bit more back before that. Before August of 2013 is when I met the people that's involved in this case study. So we're talking about a case study of somebody who had a hobby, and they turned that hobby into a full-time income source. And so I met them before August of 2013, which is a little more than 2 years ago. So it was earlier in that year, I was invited to speak at a local blog circle. It was in San Mateo, which is 20 miles from where I live. I live in Silicon Valley, for those of you who aren't here, aren't part of the meetup, the local meetup, or across the country and that sort of thing. I saw one person's in Kenya. So we love having an international audience. So anyway, I was invited to speak at this small blogger circle, and there's probably 12 or 15 people there. And I do this a lot. I just, I get asked to do that. Well, there was one woman there in particular, and rather pretty woman, as pretty goes, but she was very tired. She looked very worn. And she came in and she sat down, and it was just a big sigh. And I started talking, I started sharing, said, if you do this, you do that, you'll be able to see this many people come to your website. I taught university. I had 40 case studies of students who I said, just do what I tell you and people will come. They did what I told them and people came. And so I was just sharing that. And while I was sharing that story, this woman perked up and she said, she looked at that and then when I got done talking, I asked, are there any questions? And she said, we are so tired. We have this really good idea, but we are so tired of peddling the idea. Isn't there a better way? And that's exactly what I was trying to address. I said, if you can build your website and do it properly, people will come looking for you. I can show you. Just follow these steps, and people will log on to the search engines, and they'll search, and you'll come up. And she said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Well, I know I'm sure. Because here, let me show you another couple of case studies." She said, "We have this hobby, or my husband's hobby. As I dove into her life, I found out that she's a grandmother. Now she's not particularly old grandmother. She's in her early 50s, and her husband is a retired policeman. So he's older, a little bit, considerably older than her, and they're a blended family. In other words, she had children from a previous marriage, he had children from a previous marriage, and then together they had children. And so it's not a judgment, but it's kind of messy, like most families are. And so they were living life just like everybody else lives life, and but he was retired, so they had their income as a source. And then he was trying to turn his hobby into another income source. And as it turned out, it was a rather heavy hobby. They pick up pieces of wood from throughout California. We do that around here. We try to save everything, even old broken down pieces of wood. And then they would take these pieces of wood and glue them together, turn them into cutting boards, a very high quality cutting boards, and then they would sell them. Well, the only way they knew how to sell them was to make a bunch of cutting boards, put them in the back of their van, and schlep them up and down the coast of California. And they would visit different farmers markets. They would set up every Sunday at this Sunday in Sunnyvale, next Sunday in Mountain View, next Sunday in Santa Monica or wherever it was. And she said, "We're so tired of carrying these cutting boards up and down the coast of California. And every time we move somewhere, we have to sleep in the back of not even sleep in the back of the van. We have to find a cheap hotel. Then we have to go unpack and set it up, and it's really heavy. And then we have to put them back, and then we have to take them back." Says, "We love what we're doing, but it's so hard. Are you sure that if I build my website, people will come?" And I said, "I'm sure they will come. You just do what I tell you." And then she said, "Do you have a class on this? You're too expensive to hire." "Oh, I don't know about that." She said, "Do you have a class or something?" "Well, I have taught this class before. I just thought I'll do it for, we live in Startup Central here in Silicon Valley. So I've taught a class before, and then I took this class and I improved on it, taught it at the university level, and now I got those results." She said, "Would you open up a class for us?" And so I did. And I just did all comers, and we had about 16 people sign up for this class, and I just held it for 16 weeks. For the next 16 weeks, just do what I tell you, and I'll tell you how to do everything. And she was one of those students in that class. So, if that sounds like you, if it sounds like you have a good idea, and you're just so tired of shouting and not anybody listening, then I'm talking to you. And if you have a hobby and you think, well, if I could just get some visibility around me, I could turn this hobby into a full-time living, then I'm talking to you. If you're hurting, I'm so, I'm just tired here, and I wish there were an easier way for me to get the message out about what I do, then I'm talking to you. If that's not you, then maybe you're on the wrong webinar, or maybe you know somebody who needs to hear that message. But what I want to tell you is how this story played out in real life. So we're here up to October 15th, which is yesterday. And so I want to tell you how it played out for this retired cop and his wife, who didn't do everything I told. They just did as much of it as they could. Like I said, they're a blended family. So if it was up to me, they would have worked harder. But not everybody can do everything. So you just do what you can. And that's why I respect her so much. So we'll go back to, I met them in around May of 2013. And you can see there's nothing going on their website. And then around August 13th, this is August 16, August 17, this is when the class starts. So we all meet together in Mountain View. There's me and 16 other people, and I say, okay, blah 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 blah, and I'll explain that blah 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 here in a little bit. You know what I'll give you the solid steps of the strategy. You do these things and do it this many times, kind of thing. And then she went to work. But you can see here at the beginning. So we're in August, September, October, right? October, nothing's going on. Then October, get a little bit of push, and all of a sudden it takes off. Right, so back here they have nothing going on. I said, okay, let's blog like this. Use this many characters, use your niche topic, don't use my topic, use your topic. Who cares about what I care about? Let's care about what you care about. And they did. And you can see what goes on. So the first few months, they just kind of slog away, thinking, I'm an idiot. You know, Bill told me to work this hard, and I'm working this hard, but nothing's happening. But then all of a sudden, something starts to happen. Well, what happened for them was that you get this giant peak. Well, relatively giant, of course, but this is, if we look around here, it's November 7th, and then we get around here, it's November 14th. We're heading up to Thanksgiving season. And then we hit Black Friday, or whatever it's called, and then you got the Christmas season. Well, of course, they're going to sell more at Christmas time. No, that's not true. They'd never sold anything at Christmas time online before. And now, all of a sudden, they got this huge bump here at Christmas time. Well, as it turns out, when you search their product, and see, I have to be a little bit careful. You'll be able to figure it out if you're smart. I have to be a little bit careful about telling you exactly who they are, because I used to do that, and people kept calling them up and saying, who are you? Did he really do that for you? Can you tell us how they did that? And so they started milking them for the strategy. And they said, Bill, please stop giving our name away. And so, yeah, I mean, you can talk about us, but we don't want people calling us, because that's how that works. But they nailed it. If you search for them, you search for what it is that they sold. They were beating. This is a grandmother and a retired cop with a very complicated family and toothaches and picking up schools and babysitting and everything else going on in their life. This couple, they beat Macy's, they beat Bed Bath & Beyond, they beat Crate and Barrel, and everybody else that you could think of at Christmas time. on an average $30 price point, some more expensive, some cheaper, that kind of thing. On an average $30 price point, they were selling more than $5,000 worth of products. Holy cow. And they were selling them outside of California. They were getting orders from Texas, from Pennsylvania, from Canada. They got orders from overseas, from the UK, other English-speaking countries, that they could not deliver because they were not prepared to do that. Well, they were so busy after this peak that they had to deliver all the products. They had no time. They had no time to update their website. I thought, oh, hello, keep working. Oh, okay, never mind. But even they didn't update their website. All the content that they created during this period here, this 3-4 month period, they worked hard. All the content they created during this period continued to perform for them. Look at that. Well, this is like early spring and Renaissance fairs and that kind of stuff where their product kind of peaks and then it tapers off again. But for an entire year, people kept coming to their website without them having done anything. All they had to do was go to work and deliver the product that they had built. And then we look at this period. See, this is also November, December, and I can compare this period to the year before. Well, we can visually see that this is higher. This is taller than this peak back here, right? We can see that. Well, now they're delivering the product again, and then here we go for another entire year. So we're approaching another Christmas here. And so we're not there yet. See, it's a little bit lower here than it was here. You have to feed your website sooner or later, otherwise it'll just kind of taper off. But the content continues to perform for them. But what I want to do here for a moment before I come back to the present day is I want to go to this period of time here. We're going to go to November, let's go to Black Friday of 14, and we'll apply that. And we'll take a look at it. And then we go, and I can compare that to the year before. That's better. If it had been worse, I'd have been embarrassed. See, the blue line's higher than the orange-brown line there. So what they did let me think. What they did in 2014 outperformed what they did in 2013 without even trying. You see, they apply the principles of good storytelling, of good blog writing, that sort of thing. And then they couldn't do it because they were so busy delivering product but it kept on working. So now we can go down here and I can, see, I'm trying to do this live because I think it's more effective and it's important to me because I want you to know that it's real. It's not something that I'm making up here. Look at this. It's organic. In other words, they didn't work for it. It wasn't like they went out and yelled at Facebook or they stood on a corner, dressed like the Statue of Liberty saying, come here, or anything like that. In December of 14, 3,200 people. The year before was 24. It grew by 30% without them even trying. Huh? Well, look at that. You see, by applying the simple principles of, look, I digress. Organic, even Yahoo is 4 times better. You think, oh, who cares about Yahoo? Well, they care about it because it sells. Even Bing is 4 times better. So organic just keeps growing, right? And that's what we want. If you do it well, you do it right, and if you do as much as I tell you, it'll do better. But if you don't do that, if you just try, you build your website, you try, you can see that it performs and it continues to perform for a very, very long time. And so they went from $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month on a $30 price product. It just kept growing. Now I want to go back to today. Sorry, I messed up. So here we'll be able to see the whole history of the site. Well, let me get rid of the comparison here. I'm sorry. There it is. You see, again, we're starting from practically zero. They had a website, it just wasn't doing anything, and then off it went, and the website started performing. So now we're all the way up to the current date. Now I ought to be able to see where these people are coming from. So we know they're coming organically, right? Look, they're coming from all over the world. Oh, isn't that interesting? U.S., Canada. See, Russia, Russia is a lot of spammers. I love Russians, but the online people are no good. United Kingdom, look at that. Australia, Brazil, India, look at all the different countries that are now coming to their website. And so now they're more prepared to deliver products internationally. But they never sold anything outside of California, for Pete's sake, much less the entire world. So let's see how many. I could probably. They've had visitors from more than 162 countries. Now, some of them only one, and it might have happened upon them, but they've had 162 different countries that have come to visit their product. If you've got something that appeals internationally, it works. If you've got something that appeals locally, it works. See, that's what I'm trying to show you here. And then let's take another look at where they're coming from. Maybe they just got busy on Instagram or something like that. No, they didn't. Look at that. It's organic, 30,000 organic visitors. Yahoo, 800 visitors. Bing, almost 800 visitors. Pinterest, who'd have thought? Well, they have a good high, I want to look at this kind of a product. Now they got 600 people from Pinterest coming. Because they have such good visibility, because they have such good searchability, now they can begin to reach out to these other social networks. Isn't that interesting? First, they established themselves as somebody who's credible, right? And then having done that, now they can go social. And when they go social, it's going to multiply even more. But it's just an incredible story, but it gets better than that. And again, I'm trying to, I want to ask you is, do you have a good idea? And is the problem with your good idea that other people don't know about your good idea? Is there something that you're passionate about? and you're passionate enough about it, you just think, oh, if more people knew about this, I could make a living doing this. If that's you, that's these people. If you're tired of schlepping, if you're tired of shouting, if you're just tired of grinding this out and trying to make this work and it's not working, well, here it is. There's the better solution. They went from nothing to nailing, the search engines, beating Macy's and these big dudes, and then increasing that by just having laid a solid foundation and getting ready to do it again this year. From not having, nobody outside their immediate family knew about them, unless they shouted. Well, now there's 162 different countries, and more specifically, right, there are 10 companies. There are 10 countries right there that they can actually do business with. There's probably more, but there's 10 solid countries. You see, if they had the time, they could go back and create a little bit more contact and talk about their product in the context of Germans. Talk about their context and the product and how Chinese could use it. Talk about they could get more specific toward a country, and they would even kill it more. But there's just a couple of them. Maybe they're going to have to hire somebody. That's a great problem to have. But right now, they had a market in California. Now they have the entire country as their market. Now the entire North American continent is their market, right? Whereas before, all they could do is sell from the back of their van at a local farmer's market or something. So again, I love you if you've got a good idea, and it's a really good idea if you can save people money, if you can make people's lives easier, and you don't do that, there's something wrong with you. Shame on you. We ought, if you could save people, $500 on their taxes, for example, per month, if they just followed your plan, and your average customer stayed with you for 3 years, you'd save them $1,500. If you could charge them $500 and save them $1,500, why wouldn't you do that? You should do that. You just cheated people out of $1,000 by not selling them your product for $500 or $200 or $1,000 for whatever it is that you could save them. You see where I'm going here. But the story gets better. The story gets better because I kind of lost touch with them. We kind of keep in touch and that sort of thing. But let's go back here to the overview. So there it is. So we can go back current. So I have a confession. If anybody on this webinar tells people that I said this, I'll deny it. Every now and then I go to Facebook. All right. I used to have, I was sucked into the same thing everybody else was sucked in. The more friends you have on Facebook, the cooler you are. All right, so I went after 1,000 friends and 2,000 friends on Facebook, and suddenly I had 2,000 friends on Facebook that I didn't know, and I was getting feeds and updates from them in my timeline that I didn't care about. And so one day I just got mad at myself, and I got mad at Facebook. It wasn't their fault, but I yelled at them anyway. And I unfriended everybody I didn't know, and I got down like 246 people that I care about. And now I got on there last night, and then one of my high school friends, this is great, one of my high school friends sent me this video about a spider dog. It's got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but anyhow, I go to Facebook sometimes, and I actually enjoy it. And while I was on Facebook, just in passing, I came across an update from this company, this grandmother and her husband, and she put an update in there. First day of October, she writes, let me see if I can, there, it's bigger, right? So the first day of October, she writes, and I'm opening our 150th gallon of ultimate wood glue. See, they pick up pieces of wood, they glue them together, they cut them out, and they sell them. All right, that's their deal. So I'm opening up our 150th gallon of ultimate wood glue. When we first started making these boards, we used 1 gallon every 3 months. All right, 1 gallon every 3 months. That's 1 gallon every 13 weeks. They had to buy more glue. Now we use 1 gallon every week. Look at that. This is October 4th. This is 11 days ago is when she put this up there, just in passing. They are now 13 times busier. 13 times busier. I can do the math. I'm not very smart, but I can do math. So 1 gallon every 3 months. Now they do 1 gallon every week. They are doing 13 times more business than they were doing 2 years ago. And I wrote on, you guys are so cool. I just, I did it. You guys are, and then she wrote back. October 8th, 10th, 15th, 4 hours later, thanks. You helped us in so many ways. See, it's not about me, it's about them. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not about me. It's about them. You see, if you have a good idea and people don't know about that idea, why don't they know about that idea? It's entirely doable. Now let's get rid of that. Let me share with you how the strategy I'm sorry, I don't usually get emotional. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. So just ignore me or something. So here's the strategy for doing this. All right, how to win at anything. And to win it, I've talked about how to win at anything. It can be how to beat your competitor in your niche online. I just, this how to win, how to beat, how to destroy, how to smash, how to kill, or whatever. No, whatever works work for you. How to overcome that frustration that you've been dealing with, that I cannot get my idea. For crying out loud, I just invented this cool product nobody knows about. Anyway, so the strategy is very simple. Well, not that simple, I guess. Yeah, there's my little dude beating up the big dude. That's a good picture. I like that picture. Come on, what's going on here? All right. This isn't fun. There it is, storytelling. The very first thing you do is you come up with a story. And you say, oh, I'm not a storyteller. No. The story is quite simple. Who's your customer? Who's your customer? And Sunil is a master at working with people on determining who their customer is. So if you don't know who your customer is, that's why you talk to Sunil. And if you and Sunil, and I can get on there too, and then you say, shut up, Bill, I want to listen to Sunil. Sunil is a master at helping you decide who your customer is. So you figure out who your customer is, and then you figure out what is it your customer wants. What are the desires? So you have a demographic, persona, avatar, call it what you want. You have a customer, and you have different kinds of customers, the male and the female, the different age groups, and the different industries, the different ethnic groups, whatever. So you can break down who your customer is, and then you ask yourself, what is it your customer wants? What are their desires? They want this, they want that. Let's list up 6, 8, 9, 1, 4, 5. Let's list up the desires for your customers. And then in the next column, let's list up the obstacles. What keeps your would-be customers from fulfilling their desires? You got a customer, you got a desire, you got an obstacle. Now, how do you solve that problem? How are you their hero? What is it you do for them that makes their life better? How can you fix it? What's the solution that you provide? How do you help your customer fulfill their desires? How do you help your customer remove the obstacles that keeps them from fulfilling their desires? We have customer, we have desire, we have obstacle, we have hero. That's the story. And then finally, you have the result. How does that play out for them? When you step into your customer's life, how does that work for them? Now, this is a great story. The scramble, this is a great story. They were struggling. Their desire was, I'm tired, or the obstacle was they were tired, so they couldn't expand. Their desire was can people find me instead of me go look for them? Well, let me show you how that's done. I solved that problem for them, and now they're their hero. They're the hero for their customers. You see, that's what I try to do. I want to be their hero. No, I don't want to be their hero. I want them to be the hero for their customers. See how that works? That's the story you tell. And then you can tell it by location. In their case, they told it by California. Now they tell it by United States. Now they tell it by Canada. Now they tell it by Brazil. Now they tell it by India, and so on. So that's it. Who's your customer? What's their desire? What's getting in their way? How do you fix that for them? When you fix it, what happens in their life, and where can you do that at? Tell that story. Just tell that story and tell it a lot. Who else? Who are you competing with? Who are you competing with in your industry? Do a search, drop it in Google, drop it in Bing, or whatever search engine you use, drop it in there, find out who comes up number one, go to their website, find out how many times they have solved somebody's problem, count how many physical articles, 1, 2, 3, 4, they got this many blog posts on their website, and just do more than that. That's not brain science. Well, I'm not very smart. I'm just very diligent. So let's do more than your customer does, right? I'm sorry, not your customer, let's do more than your client does. And then let's do it better than they do. Let's do it better than they do. Well, you say, well, what does better look like? Well, see, that's beyond the scope of this webinar, but I'd be glad to tell you that the search engines will tell you there are 220 parameters that go into a perfect story told page. There are 220 parameters that go into the perfect story told page. Well, I've learned there are about 10 things I can do, and I taught that to this couple. There are 10 things that you can do that will give you 90% of the results you want. And so when Sunil mentioned that we just launched the class, we launched that class last month. It filled up, it's full. No, don't ask. Do not ask. You cannot get in because it's full. We're going to do another class in January. Sunil explained that to you at the end here. And I'm going to teach you the same things I told them, except I'm even smarter now than when I taught this grandmother and her husband. I'm not a lot smarter because it's not that hard. It's more about faithfulness. It's more about diligence. It's more about accountability. It's more about camaraderie. It's more about networking. It's more about hanging out with the right people. It's more about being coached. It's more about determining the right market. It's those things that are making the difference. The numbers are solid. I've got the numbers. I've got the data. I know how many characters to put in your title. I know how many images to stick on a blog post, and so on and so on. And so by getting that quality right and doing it a lot and telling a good story, you're going to get found. And then you do this consistently. Well, how often is often? I know the answer. What are your goals? What are the goals? How many people do you want to come to your website? Well, you want 1 million. Well, I know how to do that. I've done that. You want 1,000 people. Well, if I've done 1 million, I've done 1,000. Well, I want 10 million. So you say, Bill, I want 10 million people to come to my website. Okay, well, I've done that. Okay, well, I want 20 million people to come to my website. Okay, well, I've done that too. All right, up your nose, Blue, I want 100 million people to come to my website. 100 million. Well, I've done that. I've had 156 million or some odd page views. 156 million, about 95 million unique visitors, 156 million page views. Here's a interesting insight for you. Do you know what happens when 100 million people come to your website? Oh, I got 100 million people. You know what happens when when you get to 100 millionth person come to your website? You know what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. It's just a number. It's bragging rights. That's all it is. So what I care about is how many people do you need to come to your website so that your phone will ring, so that your email box will fill up, so that you will be busy enough delivering your product so that you can pay your bills and move on. So you don't always need 100 million. Sometimes you'll need 100,000. Sometimes you'll need 1,000 of the right people. Sometimes you'll need 100. If 100 people paid you $10,000 for your product, that would be good, wouldn't it? You see, we want to determine what your market size is, and then we're going to figure out how often we need to write, how often we need to update your website, doing quality stories until you reach your saturation point, until you reach the goals of your phone ring. So consistency depends on how big is your market. And then finally, you got to stay with it. You've got to stay with it. If you remember that graph you saw there in the beginning, there's a little bit of hard work, in the beginning when you don't see anything for your effort. Well, the number one reason why businesses fail, the number one reason why ideas fail is people give up on the idea before other people catch on to it. Well, I know, and I have dozens and dozens of case studies. I know that if you stick with it long enough, it'll eventually catch on. It will catch on, I know. Or here's what I know. If you can write for 6 months, if you follow what I tell you to do for the next 6 months, and nobody comes to your website, I will know something. I will know that you have a bad idea. Now, I would rather spend 6 months and several $1,000s or whatever. I'd rather spend 6 months and $10,000 to find out I have a bad idea than spend 18 months and spend $100,000 and find out I have a bad idea. Right? So by building your online presence and doing it well, by telling good stories, telling a lot of them, telling them well, telling them often, and keep telling them, you will learn whether anybody cares about what you care about. And if they do care about you, oh, look at all the organic visitors. I got people coming, but nobody's buying. But nobody's buying. So I had an author. If there's writers on here, you want people to read your book. I know the pain. I had an author. And we got her going. She was in that, she was in a class after that first class I taught. And she gave away the first chapter of her book. She kept giving away the first chapter of the book. And people kept downloading that first chapter. Whoa, thank you for the first chapter of that book. In hopes of people buying the book. And so she downloaded the chapter, but nobody was buying the book. She said, Bill, how come nobody's buying my book? Well, do you know why? Because the book's no good. Or the price was too high for the book. Or you see, we get those solid, hard feedback. Who doesn't want hard feedback? People say, I want feedback. No, they don't. They want people to say nice things to them. No, we want real feedback. If nobody's buying, there's a mismatch. The price is too high or something like that. If people are coming, they're coming, but nobody's converting, we learned something. If nobody's coming, we learned something. But I know that if you tell good stories about how you're the hero, how you can make your customers hero, and you do it a lot, you do it well, you do it often, people will come to the website. I just know that's going to happen. So that's kind of my story, and that's the one I want to stick to. And so Sunil's going to explain to you a little bit, but I'm going to show you this screen. No, you cannot get into the class that we just started last month. It's filled up. Please, I love you. Please don't ask, because if you beg me to, I'll soften up and I'll probably let you in. But I can't, because Sunil will get mad at me. So don't, because it's too hard. We've got a group of students and they're working really hard. We got 15 students, and we're going to recruit another 15 in January. And last week, if anybody's local here in the Valley, we've probably met at some point, maybe not. They know that I'm a no-nonsense person. Sunil's no-nonsense person. We're not in the business of trying to fool people. This week, we've gotten 12 applications. And so we're in the fortunate position of rejecting people that aren't qualified. Yeah, right. People want to give you money, you don't want it. That's right. People want to give me money, and if they're not a good match, they're going to drag the rest of the class down, and then the rest of the class is not going to get the results that they want. We're not going to do it. And so there's the application. Take your time, fill the thing out. Don't give short answers. If you give short answers, we'll just throw it out. You can fill out the form and give good answers, and then Sunil and I are going to review that, and then we're going to decide whether you qualify for us to talk to you. And either Sunil or I will book we'll book a 1 hour. We'll talk to you about a 45 minutes to an hour for free. I don't want no money. To decide whether you're really a good fit, because we're trying to get to the very best people in the class to solve the same problem like we did for this grandmother and her pop. They're this real couple. So I'm not going to drag this on. If you're in that position, fill out the form, give us a chance to evaluate that, and then one of us will be in touch, and then maybe you'll be part of the 15 people that we start with in January. All right, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Thank you for being here. Okay, so there might be some questions. I thought about. If there's some questions, let me answer questions. If I didn't check that at all, so.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions coming in so far. But if you have a question, make sure, I can't see the questions actually, Bill. I think only you can. But if you have a question, feel free to type it in.
So here's the question: does it work in any niche? It does. Does everybody make the same amount of money regardless of the niche? No, of course not. You can't sell a $5.99 Amazon book and expect to make somebody who's selling $30 product or something like that, unless you have a huger market. So it will work across any niche. It just will. But you ask yourself, are you trying to beat Target? Are you trying to beat Walmart? Well, you can beat them too. You absolutely can. It's just a little bit harder, right? It's just harder. You might just beat them in that niche topic. And so somebody said, do I have case studies? Well, I do. I have case studies of, I taught this class downtown. And in my class, I physically knocked on the door. And I asked this MBA program. It's a 48-hour, fully accredited program. And off we went. right? And so by the end of the class, I had 40 students. Now those 40 students, every student picked their own niche topic. They did travel, they did health, they did food, they did technology, they did sports, they did entertainment. I said, I don't care what you do. And all of them got results. And they were getting, after 4 months, 5 months in, 6 months in, off they went, right? And so they were getting 3,000 to 5,000, 3,000 to 5,000 organic visitors. That's 100 to 200 people per day coming to their website via search. And they were getting 10,000 page views per month. That's 300 page views per month, right? And they all did it in their own niche. And so how much initial seed money would it take to start my marketing is JK, is how much seed money? Well, okay, I'm not going to get too far into detail, but all you need is a domain name. Get your domain name, $9.99, buy your hosting for $7 a month, install WordPress, it's free, and off you go. All of my students who got 3,000 unique organic visits per month did it on the black and white free default template offered by WordPress. So you can get started you can try it for a month, $7 hosting and $9. That's $17 is all you need to get started. Now you need the know-how, of course. I mean, you can go online and search for the know-how. If you're smart enough and you do that, go off and search for it. Or this is what this is what our course is all about: is how to remove all the shenanigans and how to make it specific so that it is that you know what to do. So JK, how would this work for a service product? There's only one of me. You only need one of you. You can do that. You can decide. You can do it by yourself. I started off in the beginning of time. March 06 is when I started. I just wrote all by myself, and I got up to about 22 million page views or something, unique visitors before I hired somebody. I'm actually pretty stupid. I just worked really hard. I don't know any better. And then at around 22 million page views, I was making enough money. I could hire somebody to do this, to help me do this. And so you can do it all by yourself, and it works for a service product. You want to teach people how to tie their shoes. You want to teach people how to play the guitar. You want to teach people how to do ikebana. It doesn't matter. You only need one person. You just need to work hard. You don't need to hire a team. In fact, one of the things we do in the course is I can teach you how to. We will help you set up a virtual assistant if that's what you want to do. I hired a virtual assistant. She's absolutely golden. She's not even. She has a real name. Her name is Stella, and I would not. I hope she's not watching this because I don't want to lose her. If she hears that, she might double her salary or something. Don't do that. And so anonymous viewers ask me, how much is your course? Now I'm going to defer that price to talking to Sunil. So we don't divulge that until we've actually talked to the person, because I can pay that much money. I'm not going to, that's too cheap. Oh, that's too expensive. I'm not going there. So if it sounds interesting to you, what I'm going to say is, before I tell you what I'm worth, you need to tell me whether it's worth my time to speak to you. And I'm not trying to be harsh here. Fill out the form, and then I'll decide whether it's worth our time to dive into how much this costs, how much time this commitment. What Sunil will do with you for the next year on that 1 hour call is lay out a 1 year strategy. For you, JK Lewis, he'll lay out a 1 year strategy. Say, hey, you're all by yourself. Let's talk whether it's reasonably possible for you to do this for 1 year. And if it's not, he will say, I'm sorry, please don't waste your money on, don't waste your, waste is not the right word. Please don't dive into something, don't bite off more than you can chew. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't throw a bunch of money at something when you're not able to follow through on it, because we have enough people who want to take the course that we don't need to persuade people. I'm not going to persuade you. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. We want people who want that sort of thing.
Yep. So
Sheila says, the story you told worked for someone who is selling a product. Does it work if I'm in the financial services? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I get it. I've dealt with people in the financial services industry. I dealt with people who are in the insurance selling and the real estate industry. They represent some real estate, I don't want to mention names. And so, and then you got people, you get lawyers and these kind of folks. And so the way that works, Sheila, is you establish yourself on a separate website. You got a separate website that this is Sheila Financial Services, SheilaFinancialServices.com, something like that. And you build your credibility at SheilaFinancialServices.com, where people begin to search out, wow, look at this Sheila. She knows all about finances. And they reach out to you and you say, hey, yeah, as a matter of fact, I represent, ABC widgets or something like that, and off you go. Yes, it absolutely does work when you're in an industry that is controlled, right? It is controlled. I get it because there's legal this and you want to avoid that and all those sort of things. So does that answer your question, Sheila? It does work. It works for the real estate industry, it works for the insurance industry, it works for lawyers, it works for financial services. And I've worked with people in all these different industries. I can show you some of the results. I just can't, share names, and you know how that works because we get in trouble.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, Bill. Yeah,
Sure.
Sheila. Yeah, I mean, we recognize the compliance issues, but the thing to do would be to fill out the form on the strategy session. I'm not trying to dismiss the question. I'm just saying we need more details so we can really sit down and look at it with you and see what's realistic for you. So be happy to do that. Okay. But you want to
Ben, thank you for that. I'd like to talk to Gary. That's a private message here. Thank you for that, Ben. All right, so I want to respect everyone's time. We're coming up on the top of the hour. I want to let Sunil. You can see under my name it says Sunil, and under Sunil's name is something. We are not twins. we are brothers. Of course, we are brothers, but we're not twins. If we were, I'd be the better looking one of them. I'm the older one. So. All right, so again, we're going to finish by 10 o'clock because I want to respect your time. I appreciate your time. I'm sorry I got a little bit emotional. I don't usually do that. But
perfectly fine, Bill.
I know that your life can change. I just know that, and it pains me to see people in pain. It does. You think I'm funny that way? Oh, okay, I'm funny that way. But it hurts me when I see other people hurting. And if I can make a difference, I want to make a difference. If you can make a difference in somebody else's life, make a difference. All right, Sunil, back to you. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, I want to second one, not the second, but first what Bill said. It's really first thing because really, I mean, if you're struggling with something, we've been there too. Bill and I have been there as well. Which is why we're offering this for free, because we're not charging for what we're doing. I mean, there are people who charge way more, sometimes 3-4 times more than what we charge, and that's not an idle boast. It's a fact. And the reasons why we're doing this because we want to help people like you, because we're kind of like you in a sense. Just not too long ago, a couple of years ago, we were also trying to figure out how to make all this happen. We had a lot of individual knowledge that now we're bringing together that we'd like to share with you. But we don't want to share it willy-nilly. We want to have people who are going to actually show up, because to have the economics work for the price points that we're offering, we want to make sure that you're going to show up for us as well. We want this to be a Loctite partnership because Bill and I of the generation, well, it's still the same generation, I like to believe now, we like to roll up our sleeves and work with you on a day-to-day basis, get you through those stuck points in it every day, so you can really produce the kind of breakthrough results we're looking to produce. We're not looking to produce some fly-by-night kind of results. We want to produce results that are solid and sustainable, not just having a great year next year, but setting up the foundation for the following years as well. So it's very critical that if you're listening to this, Sheila and the other gentleman, trying to figure this out. The beauty is really in the details. And in the strategy session, we'll help you figure out a couple of things. We want to figure out what your challenges and roadblocks are. We want to figure out what your highest priority objectives should be for the next year, and then what your highest objectives should be for each of the next few months. Because if you're not clear what your focus points are, then you're probably going to fail, or at best, it'll just be the same as last year. We'll also give you some professional recommendations on how you get to these goals. Now, some of you, this may not be a match, but I'm hoping for most of you this will be. And if it is a match, we'll show you how to get there. Now, if it's not a match, we'll also make some recommendations on what you need to do to get you there. There being your results. So this VIP session, the strategy session, is complimentary for now, but like I said, it's limited space. We're going to go through these forms pretty rigorously. So you want to make sure you fill out the forms pretty good, and don't just give us one-word answers. Try and give us like more answers so we can actually answer the questions for you. So make sure you fill out the form. The site to go to is www.yourvipss.com. That's yourvipss.com. That's yourvipss.com. VIPSS.com. That's yourvipss.com. So make sure you go down. People keep asking what the website is. I'm going to say it again just in case. It's yourvipss.com. It's completely free to apply. There's no charge for it, and there's no pressure to buy anything from us. The intention is to get clarity in the right direction for you. And like I tell a lot of people, the difference really between people who really make it and really get to the next level and get really a breakthrough level of income is committed action and urgency. I just paid a consultant to work with me. It cost me about $20,000 in totality. No kidding. Now, I can kind of afford that right now, but it still causes a lump in my throat because I want to make sure that I get a good return on investment in that money. And that's how I invite you to come to this session. Is you want to get a good return on investment of your time. You want to make sure that there's some urgency for you because if it's urgent that you create this urgency. I don't mean emergency. I mean like it's urgent. It's important enough for you to really make this happen. You're sick and tired of doing the amateur game of business where it's up and down results. You're committed to producing consistent results where every year you're doing way better than the previous year. Then you need to come and talk to us. It's important, imperative to do that. I made that decision in 1991. A couple of years later, I was able to retire from my engineering job and go travel in Europe and do all those great things that I wanted to do in a long, long time. I'd like for you to have that experience, but somewhere you have to pay the piper. You have to make the investment. The investment is in taking the committed action and filling out the form and then showing up in the form and filling it out properly so you give good information and then being willing to do the work like Bill said. So you want to go to the website www.yourvipss.com and send in the application today. We won't be taking applications after a while. And frankly, my time is filled up next week for sessions. So we may have one or two available next week. All the more reason why you want to fill out the form as quickly as possible so you can get on my schedule. I look forward to doing that with you. So make sure you go to yourvipss.com and fill out that form. And next, just a quick announcement here for next week. Next Friday, we'll be doing a webinar. And it'll be another case study in how we actually made 75K over a weekend. And we want to share how we did that, how we set it up right, and how you can do the same thing as well. Those of you who are trying to figure this out, whether this will be a match for your particular industry, listen, in the last 24 years, and same for Bill, I'm pretty sure, we've worked with a lot of people. We know the ins and outs for a lot of industries. So come and talk to us. It is true. The beauty is in the details. The beauty is in the implementation of this. So we'll be happy to talk to you and share our knowledge with you over the strategy session. But you got to fill it out. You got to make sure you fill it out right. And I think we look forward to doing that. Any other questions, Bill, that are coming in? Oh, I think you're muted. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. There were a couple more questions. I replied by text so that we can finish before the hour's up.
Okay. All right.
I've
great.
already replied to them. So.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Great. Then we're complete. Make sure you go to your VIPSS and fill out the form. We look forward to working with you as a possibility in the future. And take care and have a great day and a great weekend.
Yep. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.